All right, we're here with Jack Rozema. First thing we're going to do, this is episode 3. Average Joe versus games athlete. Do you remember? You do so many workouts. Do you remember the workout off the top of your head?
Oh, yeah.
All right, hit me with it.
Yeah. So it's 4 rounds of, 12 box jumps, 12 box jump overs with the mandatory step down, 9 handstand push-ups, 6 burpee, chest to bar, 3 wall balks for 4 rounds of that.
Yeah. And I would like to point out that you were allowed to kip, but of course, a games athlete, he did not kip. It didn't matter.
I was just trying to beat you, so I was like, I got to do it.
Right.
It's faster.
Yeah. That's right. All right. I like the sounds of life, by the way. How old? We always say at church, man, those are sounds of life.
Yeah, exactly. She just turned 7 months. She's over there,
awesome,
sitting on the middle of the living room floor with basically like a waterfall of drool going down the front of her right now because she's like teething for a while now. Her teeth haven't like fully popped through, but she just drools like a river now. So
I bet I remember that. Ours is 6, and we're trying for another. We had to work through a couple things, but we think we're good to go. So we'll see. We're getting to be that age, though. It might be our last shot.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna play this. It's like the song's like 2 minutes, and then the audio will cut out. And we can just talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
This song, by the way, isn't as funny as it is just good. Like this thing is a ballad, dude. Like I wanna bang this in my car. It's awesome. One thing also. Apparently, I only did 8 reps in the first set of handstand push-ups.
Cheater.
Hopefully.
The first round, too. Man.
I know. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I did it with Luckett, too. I did 19 on the handstand push-ups. But I did like 10 extra double unders on that one. So we'll see. All right, let's roll it.
You got a good cadence.
It's not bad.
Jack Rozema. Yeah, Jack Rozema. Don't know how to spell Rozema.
Did you make this song?
Yeah, it's AI. I love this.
Jack is in the army. He's lived lots of places and he wrestled at Ohio State. Came out of nowhere, yeah, he came out of nowhere and made it to the CrossFit Games. Unless you were paying attention, maybe I would beat you at wrestling. Yeah, Jack, next time we'll do some wrestling. Why did I program 3 shoulder movements in a row? That was really stupid, but it makes us all feel better that you are gonna fall on a box. Yeah, fall on a box. So Jack, why can't you cut me some slack? You're going really fast, why are you doing that? Won't someone cut me some slack? Maybe I can get a girl to cut me some slack. We finally answered the age-old question from Andrew Hiller. Can Jack not count reps, or was it the rep? Oh, Jack can count reps. Jack can count reps, he is really good at rep counting. I'm not good at rep counting. I only did 8 handstand push-ups. I'm not good at rep counting. Jack is good at rep counting. Hiller is good at rep counting.
Where did you go? Darn it.
I was just going to say, I'm not in this. I just disappeared, I guess.
I think you're going to come back here. Hang on.
I was just doing box jumps right now.
Oh, here we go. Okay, cool.
There it is.
I must have messed one of them up.
Oh, this is where I fell off the wall anyway, so.
Oh, yeah. So you did one. You did one kip.
Yeah. I guess if you count that one.
Yeah. So I'm curious it's interesting, right? I program these and they look so simple. And, everything in CrossFit is hard. At your level, you're training hours a day. But I love the part where, did I do it again?
Yeah. Oh, no. Did you miss me falling on the box? Or no?
I might have. You know what?
No, I was going to say, I think it was round 3.
Okay.
I just don't even know.
I think it's going to be here.
Yeah. I hope so. That was the best part.
You know what? If they're
oh yeah, there we go.
Hey, we gotta rewind. We gotta rewind once more. This is definitely going to be one of my promos too. It's going to be, well, I'm not going to ruin it, but it's going to be in my promo.
Okay, sounds
we got
good.
it one more time.
Yeah, I don't even know what. I mean, it's a 24-inch box too. My toe just clipped it, I guess.
Oh, I missed it. Oh well. I'm glad it wasn't a wooden box. I did that for my first time the other day. I came down on the wooden box.
Yeah, I just refuse to use those anymore because I know they're not going to be in competition, so I don't want to get used to the feeling of them.
That's a really good point. I don't want to
get used to the feeling of them, and I do craft like that all the time, so it's like save my shins, you know.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I wouldn't say surprised, but you had to catch your breath there for a second going into round 3. I think. Did we get there yet? We might have missed it.
If I tripped, I think this is round 4.
Okay.
Because I feel like I just tripped on round 3, but I don't remember exactly.
I end up speeding
it was kind of hard because like the shoulder, like you said, it's like shoulder right there at the end. So
and it's I think it's right here. It's like it's pretty much a sprint too. You had to sprint for basically 8 minutes.
Yeah, close to it. Yeah.
Close to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to do this like right before. So is this it? There it is. All right. And that is sped up 3 times. So it was actually like 6 seconds, 5 seconds of a little bit of huffing and puffing. That made me feel better. I'm like, all right, at least he's feeling something too.
Yeah, I was for sure. I've just been grinding like with the games training. So like that session was this was after the morning.
It was after,
Yeah, so I was just like, I'll just do this now. But
it
was like round. Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry.
Let's say that it was, let's say you were fresh, and let's say it was you against somebody else. It was like a little against not me, against somebody really good, and you had to go for time. If you needed to, do you think you could break 7, or is there not enough time to shave off in this type of workout?
Yeah, like sub 7 minutes, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would have. I think you could get pretty close to 6 minutes on this. Like, just
really nice.
Depends on how close everything is, I guess. Because I had to, waste time in the transitions back and
Makes
forth.
sense.
I say waste, but I wasn't really. It's not like I was running. But I think somewhere around there, close to 6 minutes.
Yeah, I was really surprised that. So I did the workout against Brandon Luckett on what was it? Today's Thursday. I did it Tuesday. The angle wasn't good. Some stuff got
Was it the same workout or a different workout?
No, it was a different one. And
okay. Which one was that one?
By far it was the worst. It was
okay. Yeah, what was the workout?
7:37. It was, so I had Luckett reprogram it because he did this one because my back is tweaked and I couldn't hinge. In fact, on the burpee pull-ups, the reason I'm not doing proper burpees, I'm like getting up on my hands and knees, is to not hinge essentially, because I'm still a little bit.
Oh yeah. Not do the upward dog motion.
Exactly. Yep.
Burpee.
Because I'm not doing that. I'm not doing toes to bar. I tweaked it deadlifting. So, but with Luckett, it was such a sneaky workout. It was 75 double unders, and then it was 20 strict handstand push-ups and 20 bench at 155. Now that's not much, but it's a huge separator for an elite or even a 95%er and somebody like me who's like a 75% or whatever. Because the handstand push-ups that are strict, that's a huge thing. The muscle endurance and shoulders is something that I had on my list all last year to like work on this, work on this. And once you blow up, it's like the rope, like it's not coming back pretty much,
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
that's a big thing. That was a big thing for me too, was shoulder endurance. Like
really?
going from like above average CrossFitter to trying to make the games. Like last year the at semis, I don't know if you remember now, but it had handstand pirouettes in the workout. There was it went from like overhead squat, row, handstand walk down, do pirouettes.
I remember that now.
Row climb. I think it was workout 4. But that was, if you just look at the placings, that was, say the only thing that kept me out, but the biggest limiter, by far the worst score, because my shoulders were just so blown up from the handstand push-ups that I just couldn't balance on the pirouettes. And it's kind of a skill thing too, but in general, that's kind of what I was struggling with, you could say known for not doing
Yeah.
well is the shoulder endurance. So that's what I've
Yeah.
been hammering a lot.
So like when you do that, how do you personally work on that? Do you do EMOM? I mean, because you don't want to take it to failure often, right?
I don't think there's a problem with something like that. Yeah, I think it's just getting in a lot of volume, because that's what you need. You need to work on volume and stamina. So not necessarily pushing yourself to failure every time, but yeah, doing longer 10, 20 minute EMOMs with handstand push-ups and dumbbell work. I do isolated stuff with a dumbbell, banded stuff. I actually just did that for the first time not that long ago. Like, you can watch videos about how to do like handstand push-ups with a band. Around your feet to like resist and stuff like that. So just working in different variations and just straight up doing more of it. So place an emphasis there.
Yeah, volume is a huge thing. So my background, just very briefly, is essentially I've done CrossFit for 3 years, but when I was in San Diego, I basically just by the end, I was just going to open gym and lifting heavy. I weighed about I'm 5'8", 5'9". I weighed about 198, 199 then, and I lifted pretty heavy. I was deadlifting like 550, which is pretty good. And I didn't. Good. Yeah, I can't right now. I didn't take the CrossFit stuff very seriously, so I never like learned anything new or got faster or anything. And then when I got here, I'd mentioned before we got on the show that the transition from San Diego to Kansas was rough, so I got to like pour myself into CrossFit a little bit more. I did I kid you not, this is crazy to think about, but I only started stringing together toes to bar last August, and then ring muscle ups, and I got up to 10 ring muscle ups. So it was really fun. Like, I was doing skills every day. I wanted to do everything, but you just cannot do it in an hour. Like, I wanted to work on EMOMs with my shoulders, and I wanted to do intervals, and I just didn't have the time. I only really have an hour. So the volume is huge. When I stopped doing volume, like right now, I'm basically, it's almost like I'm starting over engine wise and strength wise, because I haven't really done strength in 4 months. I have a shoulder thing, haven't done skills or strength. I've just gone in, and all I've been doing for like 4 months is light cleans, and I'll do the Metcon sometime. And I just went like this. So this is actually motivating me. Like, it's not that I expect to beat a games athlete, but at the same time, when I'm like gassed, like in these type of workouts, and when I can't finish kipping handstand push-ups, I'm like, dude, now I'm motivated to like, I've been hitting it hard again. So
yeah, that's good. That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, so before we get into it, I'm curious about one thing, because on that Andrew Hiller comment was hilarious, but I didn't know if you could go back and watch it. Do you know if they actually got it? Some people were saying that they think that it was. Yeah.
All I know is all I can tell you is I was not paying attention to that dude's hand.
Oh no.
Because obviously we had tested the workouts. Yeah. And it's very small numbers counting up to even numbers. Yep. So I knew my like time hacks. The only thing I went into that workout, like obviously strength workouts are great for me. So I was like, I want to capitalize on this event. I tested it. It went great. I got like 525 in testing or something like that.
Nice. Yeah.
So I knew based on that practice and the time intervals, I was like, I'm going to get to my first bar. I'm going to get the 10 done in like a minute, and I'm going to get the 8 done at like 2:10 or 2:15 roughly. Yeah. Which I was like right there. I was slightly faster. I was at like 2:05 or 2:08 or something like that.
Yep.
On comp day. So the only thing that I don't know what he was doing. I think what happened, the reason the workout, I think the reason the video looks wrong is because when he was counting up, he was actually 1 behind. So when the camera panned to me and he had 2 in the air, I had actually already done 3. Because the camera wasn't on me yet. I think it was on Adler or someone first.
Yeah.
And so by the time the camera got to me, he was still 1 behind, and I think that's why he corrected himself. Like in between reps, he was counting down at 3, and before I did another one, he like switched to 2, because I think internally he was like, "Oh, he's actually has done 6, so let me just fix my hand real quick or something." I don't know, but like, dude, all I know is like I absolutely did 8, which like you can believe that.
Okay, no, I believe you 100%.
I don't care. I'm saying anyone who's like he didn't actually win, and it's also like,
like, I don't think anybody's saying that.
Yeah, it's like I had time to do another one and still win. So like,
did you win? I have a question. When you saw, So, dude, it's so funny. Like the Andrew Hiller effect. Even during
I love him a lot though, because like at least he's very transparent about I'm only doing this to get as many possible clicks as I can.
I like that too.
For no other reason than that. Like, so,
I don't know him, but I know people who've met him and stuff, and it's kind of funny. Everybody who's met him said he's like the nicest guy ever. He even says that it's like it's almost like a personality, you know. It comes sometimes him caring and like his passion and his compassion accidentally sneaks through when he does certain things. But yeah, I'm curious. Did your nobody wants to get Hillard? You didn't get Hillard, by the way. I knew right away when I looked at him, like, oh, this isn't Jack getting Hillard. This is just talking about the refs. But for a second, were you like, oh man, I'm getting Hillard?
Honestly, no. Like I just because I knew it wasn't going to matter.
Yeah,
like it's already over and done with. Yeah. And I knew I did solid on the event, and I knew I did the correct amount of reps. And even if I hadn't, like, it's not like they're going to go back and change it based on that video, or even if it. So no, just to answer your question, awesome. I was like, no. That's why I commented that. I was like trying to comment it like I didn't do 8, but I was just trying to like,
which is great.
Make it mysterious of like, he knows he didn't. Now he's just trying to like, I don't know. I was just trying.
Oh, dude, it's perfect. I think he called it the comment of the year in one video or something. It's awesome. All right, so I'm, go and just to let you know too, this is kind of the theme of this. The theme to my Instagram and to this, in a sense, is not the people who have known. We have so many analysts. I'm not an analyst, right? I'm somebody who loves CrossFit. As I told you, I love Christ and I love the faith, and then I love to laugh. So my page is basically a meme page, but I wanted to have some serious content here and like get to know athletes and highlight the sport and things like that. But I don't know that I'm getting caught up on the history of CrossFit as the years go by, and I get to know athletes and I watch more and more. I'm learning so much. But for instance, like your previous semi-final stuff, I don't know much about at all. So I'm curious, was this your first? I mean, it's a big deal to win a semis event. Was this your first semi-event win?
Yeah, I think it was my first ever like event win ever, like in like an actual competition, like a semis, or like I've done Lollapalooza a couple times, and now I've done semis a few times. And the other high level one I've done is Crash back in October. Okay. And through none of those events that I just mentioned, I don't think I've ever actually won an event. So yeah, it was cool for the first time.
That's awesome. That's pretty sweet. And then, so like you were, I only looked at a few things. You were kind of, from what I heard, at least from the analysts. I don't think I did that right. The analysts. I did some weird, like, okay. So I heard a lot of you being like on the cusp. I mean, obviously the East is really tough, right? So, that's what I was hearing, because I, like I said, I'm not yet a student of the game. I didn't know about you. I'm like, dude, who is this guy? He's just killing it in this event. And then you do the interview and you talk about your faith. And I'm like, this is sweet, man. What were your expectations going in? Did you know that you were like, is that something going in that you know, like, man, I am like I've never been before? Or is it?
Yeah. If you're going into the weekend, I absolutely expected to qualify.
Nice.
And kind of finished right around where I did. I thought maybe threatening the podium would be still a little bit much with the first couple of events, and with that handstand walk one in there, which we can talk about a little bit later. I actually did better than I thought I would. With some of the events and it only being 6 events and the quality of the field, I knew that maybe third was a little bit out of reach. But I absolutely was not like nervous about qualifying at all, because I just knew that the last year of training had gone really well, especially after testing the workouts. And we all knew that like weekend to weekend it might change, but us being the last weekend, we obviously had like almost 4 weeks to do all the workouts. As many times as we wanted to. By the time, but I'm not a huge fan of that, by the way. I would have much rather be like. So we got to watch Europe, and I was at Mayhem doing like a mock semifinal. That's with other Mayhem athletes that same weekend. So we were testing the workouts and then watching Europe do them.
And did you try to set it up with the same spacing and stuff?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we always try to do.
Yeah.
Before a big comp, it's like if you can, everybody should. You're just dumb if you don't do that. If you try to simulate it, if you have enough time. I wouldn't do it the weekend before or anything like that, but we had this was 2 full weeks before Friday, so we had tried to set up the floor layout, move the bar, transition the box, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So just looking at that, one, it was more my preparation over the last year, and just moving here to Kentucky, my job is more flexible, like I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And so just knowing all those circumstances and just how my body felt better over the last year, and just kind of making gains here and there, and then seeing what my times were in testing, I was like, hey, if I show up and execute, especially going into Sunday, if I'm like top 15 within striking distance, I know those last 2 are going to be money for me.
Yeah.
I was like 10th or 11th going into Sunday. So I was like, I just gotta execute the way I can, and I know I'll be there. So I would say that 5th or 6th is right where I thought I would finish. And so I finished 6th. Yeah.
That's awesome. So the transition to, how long have you been with Mayhem?
Couple years now. I think I actually transitioned before last season, basically. So I want to say like October 22-ish. Something like that. Maybe longer than that. I honestly don't remember. It's been a couple years. Like I know all last season I was following their compete track. And then this year, working a little bit more closely with Jake and Dom, just because now I live closer. I live a 2.5 hour drive away. So I try to make the drive there to train like for things like mock semifinals and stuff like that. So
do you get out there, like, is it a monthly thing or pretty much only for when you guys have special events?
Yeah, it's not at regular intervals or anything like that. It's just like whenever I can and whenever it makes sense, and whenever my wife doesn't get mad at me for leaving for
I hear you.
Which she does not at all. She never gets mad.
I'm awesome.
I'm just saying, like, whenever it's good for our family.
So does it, like, when you do the semifinals mock, or when you really do anything there, I mean, there's a lot of good athletes. Does it get competitive? Or are you like you're going up against these other dudes who are in the games? What does that look like?
Which makes it very useful at an environment like that. Like they're, I'm not there every day, but I just know from talking to them, they're not racing each other every single day because they will burn out. They kind of have, they have the kind of their usual partners and who works out with who and stuff like that. But a weekend like that, we tried to make it real for uses of testing. So it was like a handful of us. Not everybody did it. Like, just off the top of my head, I didn't do it with like Luke and Roman because they had already done it at different times. But like me and Austin Hatfield have kind of become buddies because now we just kind of overlap whenever we go there. And so me and Austin, I think, did all of them side by side, for that weekend. Nice. So that made it real. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Spriggs with Mayhem, isn't he?
Mm-mm.
Okay, got it.
No, I think he. I don't know who he's actually.
I know he moved out somewhere. I couldn't remember.
I see him training with Cole Sager. I don't know who he's.
That's right.
With, but
I saw that. That's right. Cool. Yeah. So So here's my, as far as preparing for the games and things like that. A couple questions. Everybody talks about peaking. I've asked both athletes before the same question because it's kind of fascinating to me. There's got to be a balance, right, between going in your best and burning out. I mean, even Brandon Luckett said he felt his first CrossFit Games, he wasn't at his best because he went a little bit too hard or trained improperly. So, like, how do you change it up going into it? What does that look like?
Honestly, that's using the coaching staff at Mayhem and friends there that have experience in this. I don't have any experience with peaking for the games. All I know that I've heard, basically what you just said, is it's way more important to be healthy than to risk overtraining. So you're better going into the week of the games 100% healthy, rather than try to hit the 100% of fitness that I absolutely can, but risking with that coming nagging injuries and not actually being fully recovered. So I think that I'm going to do what Jake and the other coaches write for me to do. And I'll communicate with them if I'm like, hey, I'm dead. Hey, I'm feeling like I'm not doing enough. That's where that coaching relationship is super useful. So I'm going to, take the next 5-6 weeks, however long is left, and, give it my all. And then just like we usually do the week out or so, is that the focus from about, 6 or 7 days out is feel as good as you possibly can going into it. So
exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would be interesting, speaking of Mayhem and Mayhem athletes, I'd like to see a liftoff with you and Jorge Fernandez.
Yeah.
Did you get to strong,
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
although you beat him pretty bad on the snatch. I mean, it kind of becomes, that's not really indicative necessarily of, I don't know if it is or not. Does that translate over to max lift as much as it is muscle endurance and even a slight cardio effect when you're doing something like that?
Like the snatch ladder, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what percentage it is of your 1 rep max is a huge factor. Okay. But I think it's also your capacity in that time domain for sure. I think it's not. Yeah, because I think not necessarily. It wouldn't line up directly. Like if you listed everybody's 1 rep maxes, that's not how they would necessarily finish that event, because it's also execution. Like a lot of that workout is like, I have to hit this lift as fast as I can, but without failing. And across the board, you saw a lot of people fail, and then that loses 20 or 30 seconds. When if you would have waited maybe 5 more seconds and took 2 more breaths, you would have hit that lift. Yeah. So that's a net negative of like 15 seconds or whatever if you miss it versus if you just execute the best that you can. So it's a combination of both, but I absolutely think it favors you to have a big 1 rep max, but also have capacity, which now is just everybody who's even at semis. So, yeah. I
feel like you cut it perfectly close, because that looked close. Did it feel close?
Yeah, I knew that. It felt close for sure. I thought for sure I stepped on the line, because you couldn't step on that last red line, which actually from different camera angles, you can see that I didn't. But it was like when I knew I was going to have to take another step, I tried to take it as short as possible. So I was just like, eh. But yeah, no, that was, I knew that it was kind of risking it. I knew in my head that Colton had done it in 5:07 from the West. So I wanted to try to beat that. Yeah. That's kind of why I picked it up when I did, but I was a few seconds off. But I've just gotten comfortable on that lift to just absolutely send it in the bottom. Yeah. Like I just pull, I basically just pull and then pray. It's like kind of like the whole Hail Mary, like chuck and pray, like on the snatch, as I pull and pray, I just know you just got to trust that it's going to be there. Like
that's true.
Fully commit to it. I rarely miss snatches out front. Like I usually miss them behind me because of how much I just throw myself under the bar. That's good. Usually what will happen is I kind of overcorrect and pull it too far behind me. So like usually I've just gotten over the years, I've just gotten comfortable. Like, hey, I feel like I'm ready to go now. Like, let's just throw it up there and send it. And I'm mobile enough in the bottom to just kind of try to hang on most of the time.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, we were discussing a few things. We're kind of digressing back. I actually meant to get a little bit of a personal background and then go to the games, but whatever. Yeah. It's a conversation. The wrestling background. First off, I want to hear the story about you were mentioning that you wanted to do football. Let's actually go with that first.
Yeah, for sure. So that's just kind of my background is grew up in Michigan, played football, wrestling, baseball growing up since like 5th, 6th grade. I was decent at all of them, but I would probably say I enjoyed football the most. So right when I got into high school, I just started playing quarterback because we ran like triple option offense. I was by far not the greatest pocket passer. You probably even on our team, but it was just kind of the nature of the team and that I just enjoyed doing that. So all 4 years I did those sports, and then just kind of as I kind of knew I wanted to serve in the military. That was kind of my sophomore, junior year of high school. I was like, oh, it'd be cool. We watched football every Saturday growing up. It was a big part of our family. My brother played Division III football in Michigan. Yeah. So we were always going to games and watching. I was like, man, I want to serve and I want to play football in college. So I'll like try to just get into West Point and then I'll walk on and try to play football there. So I went through that whole application process. Eventually got notified that I didn't get into West Point. So that was obviously there went those dreams of doing that, which is fine. It got me to where I am today, but it was that was kind of how I wanted to do it. And it was absolutely like God's plan for my life. I felt it at that time because that same week, it was like 2 or 3 days apart that I got the letter in the mail that said, unfortunately, you have not been accepted to West Point, blah, blah, blah. And then probably 2 or 3 days later, I got just like a random call from my wrestling coach at the time, my high school wrestling coach, that said, Tom Ryan wants to know if you want to walk on and wrestle at Ohio State. And I was like,
crazy.
I was like, yeah, I was like, what? Like, I was very familiar with Big Ten wrestling too, because when it came to be wrestling season, that's all we did was wrestle, go to tournaments, go to all kinds of different stuff. Yeah, Jay Jaggers had just graduated a few years before that. I was like, what? I was like, that's crazy. I was a one-time state placer.
Yeah.
So I had no business being recruited out of state to wrestle at Ohio State. I had good grades, I was trying to go to good college and stuff like that. I had above a 4-point, but that's not that hard to do in high school if you apply yourself. So I don't know. Yeah. So I was just like, of course I'll go on a visit there. Went on an official visit. Because realistically, that's all I was. I was one of the last few roster spots that they were trying to fill with people that had good grades. So
but so you're out there wrestling against another Big Ten dude. I mean, I guess I'm skipping ahead. I'm like, okay, I'm like, how does he get in this situation if he didn't I asked you, I'm like, did you win states or something like that? Yeah.
So a one-time state placer. I had beaten some lower division state champs, my career, like just at other tournaments that we both happened to be at.
Yep.
I think that was kind of the one, and that's for anyone that's wondering or listening or whatever, it doesn't take much to every match and every game you play matters. You never know what it's going to look like or what it's going to turn into, because I was wrestling. I remember one of them, it might've been the only one, but I remember it was a home tournament at my home high school, and this 2-time or 3-time state champ from a much smaller school came with his team there, and I ended up beating him by like a point or two in the finals. And first period, I blast doubled him for a takedown. And I think that's what, if I remember right, that's what Tom was saying. That was what made him want to call me. That's
awesome.
Like, watching one video of me blast doubling a 2-time state champ from whoever, BFE Michigan. And then, obviously was probably like just saw this. Who is he? Oh, he's got good grades. Like, sure, we'll try to make this work. So it was really that 30-second clip, probably, because he probably gets thousands of those emails a day in recruiting season. So that's kind of what led me there. I went on an official visit, learned that I could do ROTC there as well, because even though I didn't get into West Point, I got our ROTC scholarship, like anywhere that I wanted to go. So those two things, I think I was the only Division I athlete at Ohio State to do both at the same time. I think there might've been one or two other like male gymnasts or someone that was doing ROTC, but I did both of those while I was there too. So it was a crazy ride, crazy experience, but that's kind of how I got there into wrestling. And then once I got on the team, it was kind of just sink or swim environment, because now it's like, all right, I'm this nobody from Michigan wrestling these top in the nation recruits that are 4-time state champs. They've won 200 matches in high school, all this kind of stuff. So I definitely didn't belong at first, but I just kept working, and good things happened from there.
So you got the spot, like you were at 189. 197?
It was 180. It goes 184 and then 197.
Okay. So I'm curious, because I was like, he doesn't look too big for 197. Did you have to cut much weight, or did you?
Oh, so I think the video, are you talking about like the YouTube video that you sent me?
That's the one I saw. Yeah. I was like,
I didn't even know that was on there. I definitely got beat that match, but I think what happened was, I guess just a real quick summary of because doesn't take that long, of like of my career at Ohio State. That freshman year, I actually got injured, so I didn't really wrestle much of my second half of my freshman year. But then throughout my sophomore, junior, and senior year, I did start to get better and just bigger, stronger, better at wrestling, because I wasn't that great of a wrestler. Like, just body awareness and feeling your hips and stuff like that is just a whole nother. There's levels to that stuff. So once I got that, I started to get a little bit better. Is that your alarm?
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was on your end or my end. But.
No, that's happened in two of these. It's funny. In fact, go ahead.
No, you're fine. So I think it was, I don't remember which year it was, whether my sophomore, redshirt junior year, that I wrestled. So in Big Ten wrestling, you do wrestle-offs before the season. It's basically just most of the time, if you have like a returning All-American or someone who's been in the lineup for a while, it's kind of just assumed that they will have the starting spot. But often it's kind of both. It's just like a fan experience for the local fans. And sometimes it actually is to figure out who's going to be the starter at a certain weight. So we had that my redshirt like junior year, that I actually beat a returning All-American just in one match by 1 point. So there was points in my career where I had won the starting position or I earned the right to go travel. Let's say, like, for example, that one to Purdue and wrestle their 197, even though I weighed in at 184, that duel, because when you travel, you can't bring, like, people probably just assume that, like, oh, there's 10 weight classes. So when teams travel, they probably bring 20 or 30 guys. Like, no, I think that you're limited to only a few backups. So usually what happens is often in my career when I did travel a handful of times, and I would be basically like the backup for both 184 and 197. And so if the starter didn't make weight, got injured for whatever reason, or they just couldn't travel at the last minute because of those two things, that was one of the times that I stepped in and wrestled at that weight. So
that's awesome. It's the other interesting thing is that I'd said to on the chat I had with Brandon Luckett, he was actually a 3-time state champ in Louisiana. Now, I don't think Louisiana is as big of a wrestling state as like Ohio, where I'm from, or Iowa. Is Michigan a big wrestling state?
I don't know about in comparison to Louisiana, but Michigan's below Ohio and Indiana and Iowa, but probably not far. Like, Michigan's got some good people that come out of it, but it's probably Ohio, Jersey, and Indiana and up here, and then Michigan's probably just below it.
I mean, it was D1 too, so he definitely could have. It was the highest, D1, D1A or whatever. So I think it's actually called 5A there. But there's other wrestlers too. I think Colton wrestled. Did I see Medeiros? Did Medeiros wrestle? Do you know?
Yep. I've talked to Justin about that a little bit too.
Was he any good?
Ago, but
I mean, I would imagine.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was a good high school wrestler.
Yeah. And, so I feel like it translates really good. I mean, wrestlers are strong and a lot of the same elements. It's not perfect, but you've got muscle endurance. You need engine, especially if you're a good wrestler. You have to be able to take it into the third round. Some people fall apart. So muscle endurance, engine, and I can't even remember now. Is it 2 minutes in high school and 3 minutes in college? Am I off?
Yeah. So high school usually is 3 2-minute periods, and then college is 3 2 2. So it's just a minute longer.
Got it. But still, I mean, that it's basically like a WOD with 30-second or a minute, whatever it is, breaks in the middle. And and it's just you're going up against a person. So it's all out for that whole time, Exactly, even if you're in a defensive position or you're stuck somewhere, it's not for long and you're still putting everything into it. I feel like I really feel like, do you feel like so when did you start? Did you start CrossFit after wrestling, or were you still wrestling when you did it?
So, one thing, just what you were just saying is I tell people that all the time is that there's no shape like wrestling shape, because I've taken myself to some very, very dark places in CrossFit, which every big competitor has. That's
what they all say. Yeah.
But it's just not comparable. Like, I don't know. I think that it's a wrestling practice and a wrestling season can absolutely be worse because of what you were just talking about. It's mano a mano, like you're trying to impose your will on each other. And if you're in a match that's high intensity and you really just emptied the gas tank, but you missed a takedown, and now you're back at the center and he's still feeling really good and he's down by 1 and you have 0 energy left, but you're up by 1 with a minute left or something like that. And or you're just or you're not even winning, you're getting demolished. And this guy is beating the absolute crap out of you and you want everything for it to be over. And you can't breathe and trying to rest, and he's still pulling on your head, pushing your hips down. And so CrossFit is like that, but you're doing it all to yourself. So at any point you can drop the barbell and it's not going to fight back. So stuff like that. It's just an
good point.
It's just an absolute different feeling. And nothing will get you in shape and prepared for it other than just like doing it. So I think that like you were talking about, that's why it kind of translates similar, like well from that sphere of athleticism, because it's pretty similar like that. So I remember the first CrossFit workout I did, which would be when I started CrossFit, was 2017. I did the open 17.1 because that was the burpee box jump overs and the dumbbell snatches.
Yeah.
And so obviously it requires no skill at all. You can just demolish your back.
Yeah. So
and then
this
do,
is this.
and then
I
do
love
some
this.
burpees. Yeah.
I love this. I've always wondered, like a games level athlete, what
Yep.
do they look like if you give them a workout the first time that's very simple that they can do, like with burpees. Just wondering this the other day. What did that look like?
It was a perfect workout for me to like do something that I'd never done before, because it was a CrossFit workout, which I'd never done a dumbbell snatch. I didn't know what it was, but basically I just walked into a gym in Columbus and I was like, I just want to try the open. Like I've been watching this CrossFit thing on ESPN for the last couple of years. It looks kind of cool. I knew that I wasn't good enough. So that was, by that time I was going into my redshirt senior year. I think I was going into law school. So I was like, I know I'm not good enough to make an Olympic team or try to go wrestle at some locations regional training center and make money doing it. Like I don't have any of those opportunities. So I want to transition into something else competitive like CrossFit. And so I just showed up, did 17.1. And I ended up, obviously getting a pretty good time because it was right after
this is ridiculous.
It was March. Oh yeah, you could probably look it up. It was March, February, March 2017. I was right at the end of wrestling season, and just walked in and did 17.1. So that was, and I remember
I just see all the scores across the board here.
And I think it was 12 something, because I remember when
12, 15,
yeah, which was like, I mean, what rank was that like in the world or the region?
That's what I'm trying to. Oh, I've got it actually. I think this is because world. I think for the world, does this sound right? 1900 for the world?
Maybe, yeah, something like that.
I think this is the world rankings. I think it automatic. Yeah, here it is, worldwide overall. Okay, so this definitely answers the question. That might have been
my overall rank, or was that the?
That was your rank? Yeah, no, that was your overall rank. The workout rank was 1100. It looks like.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I don't know.
Which is crazy.
I was just like, I'll just do this workout. I don't even think I had done like a burpee box jump over either, like in sequence like that. So.
Bro, what did they say after you did the open? You had, I mean, unless this was an elite gym, you were number one at the gym. I imagine.
Yeah. No, so it wasn't.
Anyway, let me see what they got here. So this, I don't know why this keeps going on. This part is fascinating to me. So I want to see the skill stuff here. So, okay. So have you done CrossFit for a few weeks or not at all? Like
zero. Absolutely.
This is the best story I've ever heard. Okay.
Yeah.
Other than Jesus. Okay.
Good disclaimer there.
Yeah. So wait. Okay, it's only 7 toes to bar. So what? You were just like lifting your hips up. I mean, did you learn how to, or do you remember if they got you going on a little bit of a kit beforehand? Like if you kind of learned how to do it at all? Or like
I'm looking at it now too for like workout number 2. Yeah, I think so. That's one of my good friends. We still talk today, Michael Beatty, who's gotten me into CrossFit. So he had a very good gymnastics background. So I think it was like, because this was back when it was 1 per week. So I think that.
Okay. That makes sense.
So I think that, we had like a day or two to like talk about what a toes to bar was.
Yeah.
And then try to do it like that. So, yeah.
So after this, when you complete this, do you suddenly, obviously at this point, you're probably like, oh, this CrossFit is cool, but you made, I mean, I don't know how it was set up back then. Was it quarterfinals and 90% or?
I honestly don't. I think this was just straight up regionals.
Okay.
And I don't think I qualified.
Okay, got it.
I don't even think I was trying to. I think I just did the open and then went back to do another full season of wrestling, because that would have been 2017 into 2018. So I was a first year law student, but I was still, like I just talked about before, I was the backup for 84 and 97. So, and I still remember this talking to Jay Jaggers, like, I think it was, he wasn't particularly excited about the idea of me being in the starting lineup because I would have not done well. But I think he was like, hey, there's a real possibility that if, I think it was Miles Martin and Colin Moore at the time were the 2 starters. And they were like, hey, if Miles or Colin, like, God forbid, go down, tear an ACL, something, like, you're it. Like, you're the guy going to Big Tens. So we need you to, like, take this seriously still. And I was like, absolutely, I am. Like, I'm ready to do whatever I need to. But I was like first year in law school, which is the most intense year of law school that there is. So I was like, so So I hadn't really done CrossFit. I didn't really start doing CrossFit till like later 2018, I would say.
Yeah. Wow. Did anybody tell you like, hey man, you probably could be really good at this based off of?
Yeah, I remember that. There was a few people.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dude, you never done CrossFit before, and you just did that in like 12 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, is that good? Like, I don't know.
I wonder if it's always, do you think it's always like this? I mean, obviously so I don't think somebody who's not doing sports can walk into CrossFit and have it translate like that. Obviously you were already doing sports and then at a high level, but do you think more often than not, when you look at games athletes and even semis athletes, that they're very good, very quick, or is that not always the case? Do you know any other stories where somebody took a long time to really ramp up?
I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I think just generally, if you are in a sport where an engine and mental toughness are required, then it's going to translate pretty well.
Makes sense.
So I think any of these like wrestling or jiu-jitsu or even workouts like swimming, like I still despise swimming to this day, but like if you're a distance swimmer, like you're an animal, because that requires so much mental toughness and dedication to it. That I think it would translate if you can learn the skill stuff. So I think, I think it would just generally translate.
There's going to be swimming for sure.
Yeah,
I think.
I know. I know. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to have 2 years in a row with it not being in there. So I've been hitting the pool. Not very well, but
that's good. Cool. So I just wanted to cover two more things real quick so I can get us both out of here. The reason I reached out, this alarm's never going to stop, is it?
You have so many alarms. You're a very important guy.
This is actually the alarm I used for the interview. It's my daughter's timeout alarm. And it's not even working very well because I'm really bad at staying on task. But you know what? We'll get better with experience. So yeah, I mean, the reason I reached out to you immediately was I saw you. I can't even remember what you said. I tried to pull it up, but you talked about your faith in Christ and that being a big thing. That's a motivating factor or whatnot. My first just curiosity as a human being and a Christian is when you're put in that moment, had you decided before that you want to make sure in some way you give glory to God, or did you get scared for a second? Because I'm pretty bold when it comes to just talking in general, but I'm always afraid if you put a mic in front of my mouth in front of a crowd that I wouldn't say what I really do want to say. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I definitely knew going into the weekend that if I had done well enough to get interviewed, that I would want to glorify God and give an honest answer to exactly what I thought she teed it up great. I don't know if that's what she was trying to do, but she was basically like, you have a job in the Army and you're a father and a husband. Like, I think she worded it like, how do you do it all or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it was just naturally, like, I was just being honest and truthful. Like, what comes up is my foundation of faith. And that's where it starts for me is I have a strong belief and faith in Christ. And that's what I use to guide every aspect of my life and try to walk out my purpose in life that he has called me to do. Like in Ephesians, where we are God's handiwork created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which he prepared in advance for us to do. So I'm trying to align my will with God's will. And I think that it does. It gives me strength and resilience to do the best that I absolutely can in every aspect of that. It's like we're called to do great things. I am called to be a leader and a provider for my family, both spiritually and every other way. So I was definitely thinking about it a little bit beforehand, but it just kind of like what naturally came up for me to kind of say the way that she asked the question. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. So did you grow up in a Christian home, or did you become a Christian later in life?
So I definitely grew.
You have the classic, like a lot of times we see somebody who grows up in a Christian home or is involved in college ministry or something. They kind of go do their own thing and then they commit their life in a more tangible way. What was your story?
I definitely was raised in church, like Christian Reformed church. My parents, we grew up going to church every Sunday. We would frequently go every Wednesday and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
I made in the Reformed church, they call it your profession of faith when you become an actual member of the church.
Is it Presbyterian or is it called Reformed or Presbyterian?
It's called Christian Reformed.
Okay.
I would say that Presbyterian. I honestly don't know the exact structure of that church, but
sure.
I think that they're distinct. I think it's Reformed and Presbyterian. I don't know if Reformed falls under the PCA of America or whatever. I don't know, but so that's what I grew up doing. Did that, and I think honestly, when I actually got saved is probably when I went to college. I think even though I had made my profession of faith and I understood what was happening, I don't think I actually believed that Jesus was the Son of God, that he was crucified, died for our sins, was resurrected from the dead. And I actually believe that that is the truth that we should follow. So I think that when I went to Columbus, went to Ohio State, very, anti-Christianity city, very, very
all they do is party too.
And big party school. And I remember that. I remember just one distinct thing in my freshman year, and I was very young for my grade. So I went to college at 17. So I was 17. I was turning 18 my freshman year of college, in the dorms, like in co-ed dorms, around the party culture. Yeah. But luckily I was, and just not even just really like saying all parties are bad, but it's just being around sinful, like just sin nature, people living in the flesh in every aspect of their life. And so I just remember having like just roommates, like people that lived down the hall from me, as we'd be going out or doing things. They'd be like, they would say things like, dude, you really a Christian, bro? Like you don't really believe in God and like that Jesus like actually rose from the dead and stuff like that, do you? And there was a lot of this pressure of trying to fit in, like basically renounce my faith and not be outspoken about it. Because you had that voice in your head of like, I just kind of want to fit in this current culture. Like it would be a lot easier for me in a town like Columbus and in a school like Ohio State to just be like, hey, self-gratification. I want to do whatever feels good in the moment, follow my own desires and my own version of definition of truth, whatever that may be. Seek sources of satisfaction and joy and happiness in things of this world, like all these people around me seem to be doing, and just kind of keep my beliefs kind of quiet, because there seems to be a lot of people around me that just straight up judge me for that or make fun of me for that or whatever. So I think I was very close to going down. I was kind of at a fork in the road, if you want to call it that. Like I was. Yeah, I could go down this path to try to fit in with the current culture and not be made fun of as a Jesus freak or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but I think that I kind of just became saved just through God's direction and purpose and putting the right people in my life as well, because Tom Ryan is a very outspoken like Christian coach when he's with his team and stuff like that, and so I think that having that structure, I had good friends like his name is Rashid. He was my first roommate at Ohio State. I had him in my wedding as a groomsman, even though we haven't talked a lot the last few years. Yeah. But at that time, he was a big influence as well, because he was a believer. And so we kind of built each other up in certain ways. And so I was just I was 18, 19, 20 years old, trying to find my way and stuff like that. And I think just, I was led towards, God's calling for my life and just a lot of self-reflection. Found a great church there called Rock City, and got involved, which I think is huge. I think everyone needs to do. So I think it was just being surrounded by the right people and really asking myself, what do I want to be known for? Like, what do I want to believe in? What do I want others people to see in me? Is what I mean by known for. And so I just made the decision. I was like, I want to give my life to Christ, and actually follow this path. So it's ever since then, it's just kind of been slow process of just trying to be more like him. So
I like your story better. I believe the whole time. I mean, I grew up, maybe you'd call it like a Jonah type thing. I think, I believe, but like, I also I didn't really understand just how bad it is to, if you do believe, I don't think I ever really processed, hey, this is the level of the fallenness of humanity. And when you think about all the things you've done, like take away the things you've done with your hands and with your feet and with your mouth, and just how about put our thought life up on a screen.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to run out of the room if you put people in that room that know you.
Yeah.
Even as a Christian, the things that go through our head, you know what I mean? And so
absolutely,
when you see that level of brokenness and fallenness, and then you think that you've got to one day give an account, it's like, that's when you really start to see the value of what Christ did. And then that transaction in which, okay, now if I put my trust in that, now I have that, essentially that righteousness, like I'm seen with what Christ did rather than with the bad things that I've done, because he took that penalty, you know? So
yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. It's like, but the way I would put it is I wish my story was different, because, even after making a profession in faith, I struggled with addiction and all sorts of things. And just now in the last little bit, the last 10 years in marriage and things like that, things still come up, but, I just wish I would have done it earlier, because like, I think in my head and I'm like, you got to take a look back to learn about those, to learn so that you don't do them again. I definitely have to be careful not to sort of look too hard at those things and despair about what's been lost, in a sense, in all sorts of things, because there's definitely regret. Like I look at Ty Jenkins, who I interviewed, and I'm like, man, dude, the passion he has for Christ at 18 years old. Yeah. I'm like, well, I can do something here. I can tell him, like, if ever we talk about something, I can tell him, man, don't ever lose that, because I've never, what I said in our interview is, there's not one time that I don't regret a major decision to sin or to disobey God, particularly as a Christian. And there's not one time that I've done the right thing or been obedient, even if it was hard, that I've regretted it later. Not once for either.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. I was just talking about that with, I have like a group of friends that I pretty much text every morning, that it just reminds me of like those, I mean, the greatest teacher that you can follow is Jesus, and like these parables in the New Testament about, it's like or just the lost sheep, like going out to find the one, even though you have 99 still, you want to go out and find the one. And I forget the other actual parable, the way that it goes, because I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but it's basically like it highlights the fact that a father is going to rejoice in his son doing something, even if it's later. Like we're not going
That's a good point.
We're not going to make our, store up treasure. We're not going to like give ourselves a better position just because we've been believing for longer than the guy next to us who just came to faith like yesterday. It's not like we're better for that. We're better in the sense that like we've had the joy and satisfaction of being able to live according under grace for longer. You could look at it that way. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just the way you look at it. And just you should look at it the way that Jesus talks about it, and the way that
it's a good point.
So
and I mean, there's physical. The thing I think about too is there's definitely physical consequences for sin. I mean, all the partying and like drugs I did and addiction, things like that. I'm pretty sure that it probably is one of the things that made anxiety and depression. There's probably a few things loose in the old noggin. You know what I mean? I mean, there's physical consequences to sin. So,
absolutely.
So let's do this. Let's just get into the. Well, wait, I have one more question before we do the quick speed round. Just a little fun 5-minute thing, and then we'll be done. My one question is, are you open about, and do you have a specific goal for the CrossFit Games or expectation? One of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to place top 15 is kind of my hard goal for this year. And that was kind of thrown out there because I really want to also compete in Rogue this year when they go to Scotland. The Rogue Invitational, and just historically what they've done is invite the top 15 from the games. It looks like this year they're kind of doing it maybe a little bit differently, where they're inviting the top 10 and then doing this like weird point system where have you seen it? Have you seen it at all or no?
I took a quick look and I was like, all right, I'm going to look.
It basically just looks like what they're doing is just caveating everything with, look, we can invite whoever we want.
Basically,
have to deal with it, which is totally fine. You guys do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But it basically just I think they just wanted to to show that like, hey, we're going to try to figure out a way. And actually Bill Henniger was very open about like, hey, this is our initial like trial system. We're going to make adjustments to it. But it was basically like a way of rewarding people for success, not just in the previous year, but in the previous 5 years. So if you've been really good and a big name in the sport for the last couple of years, but for whatever reason, you didn't qualify, got injured, or just didn't do well enough to even go to or do well enough to place top 10 at the games, like we can still invite you because we want to. And because this point system says that you deserve it. So anyways, that's kind of my goal. I definitely don't want to go to just participate and just say I went. Like I'm going to go learn as much as I can so that I can keep attacking in later years. But this year, I think that's my goal, is if it will be a success if I place top 15, because then that'll set me up for chasing the podium.
That's awesome.
Years after for next year going forward. So
I like it. All right, we're gonna do the speed round so you can get back to your family and I can get back to work. I'm still not able to get this under an hour, but I'll get better. I'm sorry, you're almost like the experimental.
That's fine.
It's okay. Well, I appreciate your time. All right,
yeah, for sure.
The speed round, we're just ending with something fun here. So I ask a lot of the same questions in these. Favorite cheat meal.
Ooh, man, that's a hard one. Because I like all things food. I stuff my face too much. But no, I pretty much after every comp, I have like beer and pizza and then crumble cookies as well.
Nice. What type of beer do you like?
Actually,
very nice.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of keep it simple. Like I like a good like Fat Tire or like Sam Adams.
I like that. Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Music. What do you got to play for? What do you like listening to in the gym? What do you like listening to in the car? What's your music style?
Pretty much all I listen to now is worship music, and a little bit of NF. So we went to an NF concert. Yeah. You're familiar with him?
Yep, absolutely.
So I listen
good gym music.
Yeah. So I listen to like any variety of Christian worship music, which actually now recently there's been a lot of like Christian like rappers like
exactly.
YB, KB, Lecrae, Forrest Frank,
Brenna. Hang on. Do you know that right there?
No,
that's 116. I got this a long time ago, but that was Lecrae and them 116 click. They all got the tattoo. A bunch of people have the tattoo. It's for Romans 116, but I got it when I used to play basketball outside. This was probably 2014, 10 years ago. I played basketball outside. I thought it was a good idea because it was hot. It was summer. We always had our shirts off. And I was like, this is a really good one where people are going to be like, what's that? And it can almost
a conversation starter. Yeah.
Dude, because sometimes I went out there with intention. I would like read my Bible on the sideline and stuff. But sometimes, dude, like when you're just having a bad day, you go in with intention. You're like, I just don't feel like talking. But this kind of something like that would force me into a few conversations. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
awesome. Okay, cool. So what is you can do either here. I want to hear your like either your favorite workout or your favorite type of movement in CrossFit. I mean, we kind of already talked about it. I mean, it almost sounds like anything heavy, but go ahead.
It's max lift for sure.
Yeah, I love it.
Like if there was a max, so maybe I should have tried to go into Olympic lifting or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like if there was
you've got any kind of build for it.
Yeah, if there's any kind of max lift, definitely like max lift or complex or even like combination of it. Like I think last year at Rogue there was like I would love to do it if they do a repeat of it or something. Is it was like 405 back squats and jump and box jumps or something like that. So
that's awesome.
Anything that's just insanely heavy to try to blow out my back and central nervous system. That's what I'm trying to do and max out. Yeah, because and also those are the ones that everyone likes to watch too. So it's good.
Yeah, dude. Deadlifting. I believe deadlifting's safe, and yet I have had a lot of deadlifting.
Saying that, sitting there with an injury.
I know, right?
From deadlifts.
I just won't stop. Gosh. Then I got to add this one. Yeah. CrossFitters don't typically, but do you bench often? Do you ever get heavy for bench or no?
Mayhem benches a good amount. Yeah, they throw a lot of bench in there. I can bench like 335, 340.
Okay, that's what I was curious about. Yeah, mine was I can't remember. I know I got 315 multiple times. I think I got 320, but again, I was at 198. I'm 175 right now, and honestly, I think I said I probably only lift like 260, maybe 270 right now. I don't even know because I haven't done strength in so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm going to get back into it.
we always lifted in my dad's basement growing up, my brother and I, and that's how we just got into it. That's why we were better at sports. We weren't necessarily more athletic. We were just bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
And I still remember just spotting my dad because he would rep out 405 on bench. He would just,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. All right. This is the last one. And I actually changed it up because now I want to know deadlift and squat or front squat, whichever you prefer.
Yeah.
How heavy can you get on those, you think?
Well, the highest number, I'll just pick deadlift. I've deadlifted 600 once before, so
nice.
That's my max. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and then squat.
Yeah. Oh, like back squat,
back or front, whichever you prefer.
Yeah, I've hit 500 back squat for sure. Some days 475 is like a no go, but my max is 500.
Yeah, it's interesting. My deadlift was 550. My front squat. Or I'm sorry, my squat was only 415. But the interesting thing is losing some weight and not lifting as much. My deadlift went out the window, but my squat stayed the same. And I'm wondering if it's just because in CrossFit you use your legs so much. My squat was the one that actually got hurt the least. My bench and deadlift just dropped off a cliff. So
yeah, that'll happen. Yeah.
Well, dude, that's it, man. I really appreciate your time. I know you got a lot of training. You got the Army stuff. You got a family, so you do it all, man. We'll be rooting for you at the games, and
appreciate it.
Hoping for you to come top 15. Actually, you know what? I'm going to root for you to come top 10, just so that you get that guarantee for Rogue.
Yeah. All right.
We'll see what happens, man. All right.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jack. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yep.